I'm Amira Isabel A. Aguila, and today I will be sharing with you my insights and takeaways from our course Art Apri. And I will be splitting the video into three parts, which would be my module reflections, activity reflections, and my personal reflections. Now let's get right into the video. So the first part would be module reflections. For the first module, it is assessing art. In this module, we push the boundaries of what even is art. What are the different outputs or works of art? Are there even rules to it? Is there one example that really piqued my interest, or one artwork that really piqued my interest, was the $1,500 banana taped on wall modern art piece, in which sparked many conversations. And while I don't find it beautiful or aesthetically pleasing, it really did tell a lot about our society. It made me think about what's the purpose, and maybe that was the purpose of that art. Maybe that was the intention of the artist to reveal how we as society interact with each other. And it really told us a lot about our society today and made me think of that's just what we do as of today. Make something so ridiculous and make meaning out of it. And it made me think of what our slangs even how our slangs are even created. So we as Gen Z create so many slangs like 6, 7, and it doesn't even have a meaning into it, but it still shapes our culture and it's still part of what we do as a society. So maybe that's what his art really reflected. For my second takeaway, so in this module, we also had an activity to determine which would be our least favorite and our most favorite artwork. And I think during that time, there were a lot of thoughts about Medio Cruz's work and how many people really disliked his work because it at first glance it really disrespects the culture of the Catholic people. It He has exhibits or he has a sculpture. He used imagery of Jesus and put many different things on it. I used a cross and added a sculpture of a penis and stuff. And yeah, at first glance, it was very parang disrespectful and parang medyo uncomfortable pa nga to see those in public. But in this module, I learned that the context and intention behind each artwork is really important. And we shouldn't just judge quickly at first glance because just like Medio Cruz's work, um, he actually has a different intention to reflect more about the religion itself, what the church is, and to criticize some of their teachings. And yeah, I learned to look more into each artwork and not judge quickly, agad-agad based on its looks or how beautiful or perfect each artwork is. For my last takeaway, I correlated the technical meaning of art and what I learned in our activities and discussions. So, from the module, it says art is a way to express ideas or emotions. Art is a form of language. And before this course, I thought that art apri was just about fine arts, paintings, and illustrations, but now I realize that art is can really be anything. And just like the examples during our first activity, there were so much different art that we can learn from today. And even those we find wrong or weird, even those are art because each of those has meaning into it. And maybe even those weird or wrong art also still says a lot about our culture and society. And maybe it critiques, maybe it evokes a reaction, and maybe it's a protest to let everyone be aware of. So yeah, that's what I learned to really observe and explore different forms of art. Module 2 would be the principles and elements of art. Module, we had a group activity which we are tasked to roam around the Atrium campus and take photos and things that we think resembled elements and principles of art. And after doing that activity, I realized that art isn't just for the pretty aesthetics. It's not just beautiful. It is also deeply connected in the mathematical and scientific side. And I realized that art can be a source of inspiration for something helpful in our society, like infrastructure and architecture and design. And which is why I think that we saw all of those elements just in the campus itself. For my second takeaway, I really like the element of color from the discussion because I like how we are able, I even like the concept of how we were able to see it right now in our eyes. Like the concept of light splitting into different rays so that our eyes can interpret that color is really amazing. And the second part of that is that how color can have a big impact on how we view stuff. Like even in our day-to-day stuff, we are able to attach meaning into it, and it could really convey a message on how each color is used. I also love how it doesn't really need to be accurate. It just needs to portray the same feeling. So whenever artists paint flowers green or the apples yellow, it doesn't really matter. Even if it just resembles um the shape or form of that thing, our brain just instantly gets it, but changes the mood of it, which is I think really amazing in terms of how we as humans interpret color. My last takeaway, after learning more about balance and proportion, I really appreciate the concept of golden ratio. It is both a mathematical concept and something artists use for their compositions. And for me, I really like how we can see it in everywhere. It is in nature, just like in shells, in storms, and in the galaxy as well. So it serves as a reminder for me that we as humans are part of this nature and we are created just like we should be. And it's very comforting as well to be reminded that even in things that shouldn't, we don't really know how it's made, how it's shaped like that, it's just like that. And even in chaos, there's patterns, and it reminds me of just like life, that even if there's hardships and there's chaos as well, maybe that's where we're supposed to be, and maybe that's where I'm supposed to be, like right now. The next module is going to be the art movements. In this module, we had a report about our assigned art movement, which is pop art, and we also did a collage based on that art movement. And before our reporting, I just thought that pop art was all about comic books or famous products like the Campbell soup. But after the activity and the reporting, I realized how much pop art really wanted to portray in those comic style artworks. It is actually a form of talkback or a reaction from things that's currently happening during those times. And it's about the mass production and consumerism during the times. And now I have reflected on how history just repeats itself, on how It's still relevant today because I think just like before, consumerism is glamorized today and even normalized. And just like before, in which they used celebrities as ambassadors, this time it's even more accessible because of all this online shopping and everything that happened with technology. And they use influencers that can even target multiple audiences at once. And so, yeah, I've reflected on how consumerism is much more somehow worse in our modern times today. For my next takeaway, while learning all about these art movements, I realized how art can really be universal. Because in each of those art movements, there are multiple different artworks. And it's not like one artist made every artwork, and it's not like they all talk together on what they're going to create or what they're going to name that movement. But what they all shared was the same united um, goal, philosophy, or a message they wanted to portray, and they wanted to portray or to let their audience know. And each of those is specific in each of those times, in each of their times. And for all of those art that can be classified as a movement, I think it says a lot about the impact of art and how significant it is in our history as well. For my last takeaway, after learning all about the art movements, I reflected on how we as society today somehow look down upon the art that's created. Even the artists are looked down upon. But we don't really realize on how much it could document. Because just like the previous art movements, like what the Renaissance had, what the Impressionism had, it captured all about their trends, their issues, and anything during those times. And I think we should appreciate our art more today. We should appreciate artists more who try to protest and speak against a lot of our issues today, because we never know how much it would be helpful for the future generations and how much it could really capture during our times today. For the second part of the video, I will be talking about the activity reflections. For the first activity, I choose Getty Museum, and in this activity, we were tasked to recreate famous paintings in just what we have. So in this challenge, I recreated Claude Monet's painting of a woman with a parasol in 1875, and I really found this activity very fun because it's like the opposite of how art imitates life. Now it's like how life imitated art. And the more that I observed his painting and the more I looked through it, because I was really trying to capture every detail, I really noticed all of his technique, the brush strokes, the colors, and it made me appreciate more of Claude Monet's work. For the next activity, which would be the mystery box game, it is a customized quiz bee style game. And in that activity, I learned how games can be a really helpful tool in making us retain the lessons that we learned, because our group answered many questions incorrectly, and because of that game, all those questions that we answered incorrectly is now engraved inside my mind, and I know what the correct answers is now. So it's very effective and very fun. For the last activity, it's the museum visits, in which we are tasked to go visit some DAC sites and the chosen museum, in which I chose Yuchanko Museum. During this activity, I was actually really surprised that I know more about our national artists and local artists now than before. Because during my visit in Yuchangki Museum, I actually spotted Fernando Amorsolo's works, and I know the stories and contexts behind each one of those, which I'm really proud of. But at the same time, I also realized how much we shine light upon foreign artists first rather than our local Filipino artists. Because whenever I was a kid, all I knew was famous foreign artists and their work, and not really about our own culture and our own arts. So this museum visit really made me more interested in learning about our own arts, because we never know how many artists are out there that aren't still discovered. So yeah, I'm glad that this is the takeaway that for the third part of my video blog, it would be my personal reflection. Firstly, I think I've already implemented those learnings and insights. As a student, I learned more about art itself, its movements, its principles, and its context as a whole. And it also pushed me to create new art. As a member of society, I realized in Art Apri that art is really a voice. And it's a voice that can scream, it can catch attention, and it can express things that some words really can't. And as an artist myself, I want to use it as a voice to spread awareness on what's happening in our country right now, especially during these issues that we shouldn't forget. And I want to use my art to advocate for that as well. On a more personal level, I realized that there is so much beauty in this world through art. And I've learned to appreciate every form of it because of this course. I mean, it is literally everywhere. And I think it's going to be a reminder for me to look at the simple beauty that we can experience and see in our daily lives. And that wraps up my video blog synthesis for Art Apri. Overall, I learned a lot in this course. I learned something deeper in art. I learned its role in society. I learned its fundamentals. And most importantly, I learned how it would help me grow as an individual and as an artist as well. And that's all. Thank you for listening and goodbye.